excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I was just saying that we're going to keep it as spoiler-free as possible since
Okay.
it's still a newer release,
hmm
but forgive us if we let anything slip. So we are talking about Unbound, book 3 in the series, which I mean, it's here. It's here, and I'm sure that that's got to feel wild. So,
Yeah.
before we jump into it, why don't you tell us a little bit just like about you and how you got to this point?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay, so hi. If you guys don't know me, I'm Peyton Corinne, and I write angsty romances in general about hot, sad people. I wrote Unsteady in 2023, and I published it indie in November. Yes, that one, my beautiful blue baby, who's getting an upgrade very soon. And I self-published it. It was pretty viral on TikTok and Instagram. I got picked up by Atria like 3 weeks later. So I was only indie for like 3 weeks, which is like crazy, but really cool. And it was very fast and kind of overwhelming and amazing. And then since then, this is my third book. So this is the third book, and the fourth book comes out in October. So it's been a whirlwind, but I'm super happy. And yeah, this one has been an emotional like journey for sure. They all are, but yeah, if you like sad, hot, lonely people, you will love anything that I write.
And HEAs, happily ever afters. I think that's
Always.
important. That's
Yeah.
important.
I'm gonna put you through the ringer, but I promise I will not leave you hanging.
It
Yes.
will be worth it. So worth it in the end. So let's talk about Unbound. Can you give us a little bit of a spoiler-free synopsis?
Yeah, so Unbound is the third book in the Undone series, but it follows Bennett and Paloma. There's the trio. It follows Bennett and Paloma. Bennett is a neurodivergent goalie for the hockey team. Paloma is kind of like a little bit lost, but she's kind of known for being a party girl in the other books or being the mean girl in some ways. And this story takes place second chance dual timeline. So we see them freshman year, we see them a little bit in the middle, and we see them in the current timeline in senior year spring. It is like an ode to messy college situationships. It is my love letter to my past self and everyone's, I hope, like younger self, like a little bit of a, I'm so sorry, let me like give you a hug to your younger self. It's emotional and heart aching. There's lots of yearning, but it is really at its core kind of a character driven story about these two people revolving around each other for 3 to 4 years.
I will say, like, and please forgive me, but when I read that something is college romance, I
Yeah,
immediately get a little bit nervous. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know, like maybe I'll pass, but I read your series and I am obsessed. And I do tell everyone that, like, I'll recommend it. And I'll be like, please don't let, if you are like worried about college, please don't let it deter you. I swear it does not read like college. Like, please
Yeah.
read this.
It doesn't. I mean, I think sometimes, when you get out of that college age, it seems so young. But at the same time, like I'm 30 and I look back and I'm like, actually that feels like it was yesterday. Like I feel like I can envision myself and I feel like I'm the same as I was in some ways and so different and grown up in other ways. So I don't know, I love writing about college because the mistakes that they get to make that are entertaining and plot, like very plot heavy, I wouldn't forgive like a 30 or 35-year-old for doing some of these things. So like they're 21, like they're figuring things out. We can give them a little bit of a break.
Yeah, absolutely. Would not be as cute as a 35-year-old for sure.
No, no, definitely not.
So you already mentioned that they were characters in the previous two books. So I'm curious to know, did you like know their story before you even started the series? Were they always going to get a book? Like, how did we get to them?
Oh, yeah, always. I've had all four books planned out since I started writing the entire series. So I had like this massive like Canva spreadsheet of all of them so I could see where all of their stories overlapped and intersected because they're all overlapping timelines. So Unsteady and Unloved follow like an exact parallel of their timeline. And we see little bits of Paloma and Bennett's story, like breadcrumbs through the first two. And then the with Undone and Unbound and Undone, they're kind of similar in that they follow a parallel timeline to one another. So I've always planned all of them in advance. I don't think I can do like the other that's just how it works for me. I'm working on something new and it's the same thing where I'm like I have to know every single person's story before I start the first book because I want to interweave them and leave breadcrumbs for readers because it's my favorite thing when I'm a reader.
Oh yeah, it's so fun. And you did such a great job here. Like
Yeah.
just the way that even like going back and looking at how Paloma is in book one, you're like, I don't know how we're gonna get from book one to book three, but I am so glad for the journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have mentioned already that you've been using dual timeline in this book, and I just think it adds to the richness of both of their
Thank
characters,
you.
like individually and jointly. So what made you choose for this one to do that creative decision, and what made it the most challenging, most thrilling?
Well, when I wrote the book originally, it was entirely in order. So I started freshman year and I wrote it, and there was like this drop off point where it became like that scene in New Moon where like she's like revolving window. It was like Bennett sitting in that chair watching like scenes of Paloma, and it was so gut wrenching. But when we went through edits, we felt like there's some information without spoiling it. There's some information that works better withheld from the reader for a longer point. Specifically talking about like New Year's Eve, like that whole thematic sequence being right before we start their current journey. It just felt like you lose some of the desperation in a reader of like I've got to get to the end. I have to see what happens. And so we wanted to change it in that aspect. That was the hardest part was taking apart the book I'd written and piecing it together on I had like a printed out version and I unbound it literally, unbound. I literally took the binding out of it and laid them across like every chapter and had to like a crazy person put it all back together and sew it into like one story. And I know people can find it confusing when it's bouncing back and forth, but I do think it's more it works better for their story specifically. Undone is a second chance romance as well, and it's not dual timeline, and it works perfectly for that. You know, like each story is going to be told so differently. I don't want anything to feel repetitive. And with Unbound, it was just like it made so much more sense for it to be kind of this back and forth, like you're unfurling them both as characters.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure, I mean, I love a single timeline book,
Yeah,
but with this one specifically, it just, I feel like you were saying, it makes the angst and the yearning just so
yeah.
much deeper, and you're like, I gotta get there. How am I gonna get there?
You're like slowly pulling these, yeah, layers back, and I just think it makes more sense. I know a lot of people, I think, stayed up later reading because you're like, what the heck happened to these two people? Like, what happened? Everything seems so perfect. Where are we headed? I'm scared.
Yeah, for sure. It was like, where did this go wrong? We've got to
Yeah.
find this out.
You get to that 75% mark and they're together and you go, okay, I'm a little nervous.
Absolutely, that's the worst when you're like, I still have 100 pages. I don't know
Yeah.
about this.
Where are we going?
Uh, so you touched on how Bennett is a neurodivergent character. His OCD compulsions are present on the page.
Yeah.
Never once do you shy away from showcasing these aspects of him, and I think that that's so important. So why did you find it vital to have him as a character and other characters like him front and center as like a main character on a page?
I feel that way about all of them, really. Especially with the boys for the first three that we're kind of talking about. Um, I think it's important. Obviously, like diversity in romance is an incredibly important thing to see. And in all aspects, diversity of culture, ethnicity, race, um, sexual identification, but also like mental health aspects, different disordered thinking. Like, I want to be able to see everything, like, because it's only fair if everyone gets to see themselves as some type of character. And whether that's you relating to Bennett or Paloma or Reese or Sadie or Freddie and Roe, it's kind of cool that I have so many people tell me that, oh, I related so much to the male main character. Like, this is what really, like, that was me, or I felt like so connected to him. And that's really special for me because I'm taking a lot of time and care into research, but also just talking to people and absorbing people's stories and making sure I'm working with sensitivity readers to view that and make sure that I am doing the best or closest possible depiction that I can. It's not always going to be everyone's story. You know, it's easy to look at books about someone that's similar to me and say, like, well, that's not exactly how it was for me. Especially with grief. You know, Freddie's story about grief isn't my own grief, but there are parts of it that I can relate to. There are parts of it I know other people who are grieving parents can relate to, or grieving anyone in their family. So I think being careful enough to make sure that I'm being it's a care thing, like taking the time to care for the character in that way, I think allows for him to be so present on page. And I don't ever want to shy away from that kind of stuff unless it makes sense to the character. I want to be very specific in acknowledging and naming what these people are going through, because we're not in a fantasy world. Like, we're in a fantasy, but like, we're not, like, this is real life situations that I've put these people in.
Well, and thinking about that same kind of care, you know, Paloma, she masks a lot of her everything, her fears, her traumas, just everything that she's feeling with her sharpness and sex and self-sabotage. So the depth of her character is really there, but you have to work for it.
Yeah.
Similarly, like, why is it important for her story? Why is it important to see maybe a not as stereotypical female main character?
Yeah, I think Paloma is so special to me. And I knew she would be. And it was one of those things that, like, her story wasn't necessarily a deep point of, like, I'm not talking about her pre the book coming out because it's not like a sales topic. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not pushing this particular part. So when I went on tour, it was like really intense for me at points because of the amount of people who were willing to share how much they related to Paloma. And that was like, those, I always anticipate that maybe one or two people will feel seen, or at least some. But when you are seeing people in real life, which is why I love tour so much, but like, and connecting with people at like their deepest point of saying, like, I felt so taken care of and cared for and seen. And like, I felt like this was me younger, and it was like a healing journey for them. And it's just a book that I wrote. It feels so incredibly important and special. And Paloma is important. Um, I set up her character so carefully in the first two books to give people enough to kind of run with this idea of, like, oh, watching people kind of say, oh, Paloma's the mean girl. And then if you go back and read the first two, like, she doesn't really do anything. Like, she doesn't do anything wrong. Like, Freddie at one point says that she's always alone. He's never seen her with friends before. And I wanted that to hit people really hard so that when we went in and you're like, Bennett, who everybody loves and cherishes, is now going to be with Paloma Blake, who people are really uncertain about. Like, I needed people to understand that it can happen to anyone. And the way that you deal with that after, there's no right or wrong way. And like, there's a lot of pain and a lot of hurt with Paloma, but it's important that she goes through these things, and it sucks, but I did not want to shy, same way I didn't want to shy away from talking about Bennett and what he was dealing with. I really didn't want to shy away from some of the aspects that I include with Paloma in the scenes that she goes through during their kind of separation. Like, it was hard to write, and I knew people would really hate some of the stuff that I wanted to show on page, but I needed it to be real for people to understand the decisions she made as a person.
Yeah, and I mean, so much of her, I guess, present timeline journey is about learning to trust again and communicate what she needs. So, what did you have to do to get into that headspace? Like, what was that like?
I think there's a lot of me, if you ask me which characters I relate to the most, it's always going to be like Sadie, Paloma, and Lily. And so there was a lot of me that's in Paloma, pieces of my heart and pieces of me from college, especially. And then from there, like just having a very three-dimensional character, which I do a lot of character work. Most of my books are pretty character driven. uh, it makes it a little bit easier to conquer some of those harder things because once you have that person, and I know every facet of Paloma Blake, and then I can kind of look at her childhood and how she's grown up and what she does now and the people around her, and it's easier to navigate the situations that I put her in. And it's more like, I mean, I don't know, I just think for her specifically, it was a lot of just like going back in my own history in college and thinking about certain things, and also just being aware of how prominent this problem that she is kind of dealing with is. I mean, it's get a group of five people in a room, and I guarantee you at least have one person who's like, oh, I've been through that. It's, and yet we don't have enough to talk about it. We don't have enough people that are writing about this, and there are a lot of people doing incredible work writing about this, but there could always be more. Uh, I feel the same way about Bennett in that aspect as well.
Well, going back to Bennett, one of the things that I love so much about him is his softness. And
Mm.
and just kind of the duality of him. Like he's a poet and a lover boy, but he's also like literally a huge man who is successful in a very violent sport.
Mm.
So, what was your approach to writing such contrasting dynamics to him?
Oh, that's my favorite thing in the entire world. I love a contrast, like a heavy contrast. And Bennett and Paloma both really had one, but for Bennett, like being the biggest one in the room is his nightmare. Like standing out in a group of people is something he's just had to like cope with and deal with. So it's kind of funny to know he's 6'6" and he's not skinny. He's like this kind of big, soft, burly guy that plays hockey because his friend plays hockey and he doesn't even really like it. Like he's kind of stumbled into these things. He's kind of an icon on accident. And he is so soft and gentle. And I don't think it would work for Paloma if he wasn't that way. Like those facets of their characters, those contrasts that are kind of sharper to who they are as individuals, I think are make them so relatable and real. Like Paloma being kind of the softest of the girls, like even probably softer than Ro on the inside, but she has this extremely sharp exterior, and the way that she looks is very contrasting to that. I love that kind of stuff. Freddie is the same way. I feel like Sadie in a lot of ways is like this gentle motherly figure, but if you looked at her, she's not motherly looking at all. And I think Torrin Kane is a similar one where I think people have a certain idea about him, and he is deep down very different than what people think. So I love doing that because it's so real. I mean, who do you know that like actually looks it's like that audio on TikTok though, like looks like a cinnamon roll is a cinnamon roll. I could do that with all the characters and we could figure out where they belong.
Yeah, I mean, I just love that about them as well. Like, you do such a great job writing multiple, like, just all the layers. Like,
Hmm.
you should do a master class on it.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Well, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the heavy stuff. We've talked
Okay.
about it a lot, but I do think it is interesting to discuss like how you you do navigate. I mean, this one
Hmm.
has, they all do, but this one does deal with
Yeah.
heavy content. And so, how do you navigate? I mean, you've talked about sensitivity readers and research and caring for them. So, how do you navigate writing this kind of content while also keeping it hopeful and bright enough to like we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know how we're gonna get there, but we're gonna make it. Like, what's your approach to that?
I think it I think a lot of it comes from just how I view and approach life. Just kind of like this mentality of like this too shall pass. Like things will get better because if I don't see life that way, then what's the point? And that really delves from my own like grief and depression and things that I've dealt with is like there's no other way for me to view life other than like from up from here. So I don't think I would enjoy writing about what I write about if there wasn't like a hopeful happy ending. And I also don't think the books would work in the way that I want them to without that. Like I cannot spend what is it, like 400 pages? It's a crazy long book, but however long Unbound is, it's a crazy amount of words. I think it's like 130 something thousand words, but I can't spend all of that time with Bennett and Paloma traumatized going through these really heavy, deep personal issues and then not have something gentle and sweet to balance that out because that's not romance for me. And I know people can find my books very heavy, and I try to make that very clear to anyone that's reading my books for the first time that, like, hey, just so you know, this is some deep, heavy stuff, especially Unbound, which is my heaviest book in the series. It's the most angsty. Be kind to your own brain, only consume what you think you can, but I will never put you in a situation where you leave the book feeling worse or feeling like something bad happened to these characters and they'll never get over it. Healing is not linear, so I want to make that clear when I'm writing. My characters are not healed by the end of the book ever. Some of them are in therapy, some aren't, and maybe they should be. And that's part of it. I want people to feel like just because you're going through something, just because you're in the middle of a healing journey, just because, any of these things doesn't mean that you're not deserving of love. And that's kind of like the pentultimate theme that I hope my books carry to people.
Yeah, from others and from yourself. Like, you
Yeah,
deserve to love yourself.
absolutely.
Well, I did just do a quick check, and this version is 474.
Okay, yeah.
So,
I knew it was close to that 500 mark. It's a long book, but it's needed. It's needed.
and it's worth it. It definitely is. I mean, every page. What was the most rewarding part of writing Paloma Bennett's love story?
Oh, I felt like I was returning to my roots. I wanted to write something really angsty and like super sad girl, which is me at my core. That atmospheric feeling, like the raininess of Unsteady, I wanted to do again, but this time it's like that beachy, like foggy, misty, northeastern coastal vibe. And I love a heavy-handed metaphor, and so getting to kind of explore the more like poetic literary part of my writing and using that metaphor to kind of go between the ocean and Paloma and the water and swimming. Like that was really fun. It was super rewarding to do that. And then of course always like going on tour and getting to meet so many people who have such beautiful things to say about my characters. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to start diving into like the poetry aspect of this book. It is honestly so much fun and so beautiful because like I think that even if poetry isn't necessarily like I enjoy it, I've just never been able to like immerse myself in it.
Yes.
And I think that
Same.
this is such a fun way to be like, I am artsy. I do love this stuff, but I don't have to like live in it.
You're speaking my language. I'm like the poetry hater that Paloma is based off of me 100%. And my dad was like an obsessive poet. Like he wrote so many amazing, wonderful poems from the time he was very young to before he passed. And like it was kind of like a cool thing to for me to kind of go through and say, okay, maybe you're right. Like this is actually pretty fun. But I was like such a poetry hater in college, and I was so annoyed with like some of the things that I had to go through with taking poetry classes because I had a creative writing minor, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. There's too many rules. I hate this. So that was so based off of me. But it was fun to kind of dive into like the romantic, like what could poetry really look like? If it looks like this for Bennett, what does it look like for Paloma? Is it song lyrics and things like that? It was fun. I had a great time.
Yeah, I have a writing minor too, and the rules in poetry would just like make me so mad. It's like, oh, it's up for interpretation, but it's beautiful and creative. However, you have to follow, and I'm just like, no, if you can't
Yeah,
have both,
forget
stop.
it.
But yes, you did that. I thought you did it perfectly for
Thank
someone like
you.
me who like wants to love poetry more and does appreciate it, but just hasn't been able to
Yeah.
fully commit. What
Thank
was
you.
your favorite scene to write? Whichever one is like less spoilery.
My favorite scene to write, it was like one of the last scenes I added, and it is my favorite scene in the book, I think, which is the scene where Bennett goes, like Sadie texts him all the guys and the girls are out at the bar, and Sadie's like, by the way, Paloma's here, and they're not dating, and he's like, maybe I should go, and he shows up, and there's this very like yearny, angsty. I think I was on stage with Tessa Bailey at the Robotis on my tour, and we were talking about it compared to the Heated Rivalry esque, like all the things she said, scene of just like staring at one another, but there's a belt loop grab between them that I am obsessed with as a microtrope now of like her hands in his belt loop pulling him. It's just like very yearny, and they don't even kiss or really touch, but it feels so attention filled, and I love that scene. I'm so proud of it, and I still read it and I'm like, wow, that was amazing. I really did my big one with that.
I mean, I feel like I'm gonna get off here and go
Reread
reread everything.
it. Good, yes, you
If
should.
readers, if readers could only take away one thing from this story, what would you want it to be?
Oh, be kinder to yourself. Be kinder to your younger self. And like just forgive whatever it is that you're carrying. For me, this book is a heavy, like it's a lot about punishing yourself for something that you couldn't control. And I think as we get older, looking back at like your younger self and being like, you know what? You did the best you could. And even if you didn't, or you messed up, like there is no other way but to forgive and like try to continue on in whatever capacity that is. So yeah, that's what I hope people take from it.
Yeah, that's good. That's special. Let's see. What one piece of advice would you want to give to aspiring authors, writers, anyone that just wants to put something out in the world?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be try to write in a bubble, which is proceedingly like it gets harder and harder to do that when you start putting books out in the universe, and you start publishing. But trying to contain your creativity into this safe place that you build for it, especially for I come from fanfic background, so I'm used to just writing what I want to write, putting it up on the internet right afterwards, no edits, nothing, just throwing it in there. And I kind of was the same way with Unsteady, where I wrote it in 3 months and was like, that's probably good enough, and then I put it on Amazon, and it was, and yeah, it probably needed a couple more rounds of edits, but beyond what I paid for, but like it's so special to me because it was just from me and there was no other sound. So when I went to write Unloved, it felt like a lot of what I was thinking about all the time was like what people will think, what my readers will think. I have this established audience now, and I have these people who have already very explicitly expressed to me who they think this person should end up with or this. So if you can maintain a space for yourself that's like your creative bubble and you write just for you, um that's so special, and to hold on to that as long as possible. So try not to second guess yourself and try not to take in too much outside input when you're in that drafting space, because what you idealize and create, that's really special. Then go out and get your other opinions and do your beta read. But when you're drafting, like try to get in there. It's just like you and the page in front of you.
Yeah. I love that. Well, before you go, I do want to talk about what's coming. So, we have already, I think you've definitely already announced that these are getting new covers to match this gorgeous girl.
Yes, and they're so
So,
good.
they do. They look
Thank
stunning.
you.
What are you allowed to tell us? And then someone asked me if I knew if you would be doing like signed. Will people be able to order like signed copies?
Okay, so this is what's coming next.
Yes.
She's
Well,
so
I was gonna get
lovely.
there. I wasn't gonna leave that one out.
Oh, I've got it. I got it.
You can send that to
Um,
me if you want.
yeah, I've got just a couple copies here, but this baby's coming next October 20th. So I'm very excited about these two, and I know everyone and their mother is excited about Torin. So I'm really excited. If you want to learn more about them, you should read Unbound if you haven't, because they are heavily in Unbound. I put a lot of teasers into that one. So that one's coming out in October. I'm working on something new that I can't talk about. And then signed copies. Yes, when Undone comes out, the new editions of Unsteady and Unloved will be out. So we will probably do like when you order Undone from the indies that I'll be visiting on tour and you get signed copies, you'll be able to order signed copies of Unsteady and Unloved. I don't know if we'll be doing any other campaigns for those two specifically, but for now, I do know you will be able to get Unsteady and Unloved. And you could also buy them and bring them to my Undone tour stops and get them signed in front of your eyes. It'd be perfect.
Yes, I know so many people are just like so excited about, I mean, me included. I'm so excited about Undone. And I mean, I know October is not that far away, but it does feel a little bit like punishment that we have to wait.
Hey, at least it's not a year. I keep telling people, I'm like, every other one has been a year apart. So at least it's like in the same year as Unbound.
No, no, I definitely felt that because as soon as the announcement was made, I was like, I don't know what we must have been really good because it's not even a year, and that's so wonderful.
Correct. Yeah. I'm really happy that it's coming out earlier. And I just think they go together so well. I'm so glad that they're both going to be out in the same year. October is Torrin Kane's birthday. So I think that's fun. It'll be definitely be part of the celebrations for me, but and it's the last book. I'm excited to close the chapter on Undone and Waterfell U this year, but I'm also like bittersweet about it. I've been rereading Undone to pull content to start prepping for the summer as I market to everyone and try to get them to buy this book. And it's like, I'm just so proud of this one. I love this book so much. It's like a book written for me as a reader. So I'm really excited about it in that capacity, and I cannot wait for other people to read it. Yeah.
And when can people expect your tour announcement?
Probably this summer, like let's say June, July, probably this summer. But we are in the weeds working on that now. So get
And
excited.
we're still taking time to enjoy Unbound. Let's not
Yes,
forget,
it's
still
the
here.
year. It's the year of Unbound and Undone. They work together. They're gonna be marketed together forever. Lily and Paloma are very important to me, friendship wise. So I'm excited for everyone to kind of. I feel like my books work in a nice way where you read one and then you want to go back and reread the other one to catch what I said in this one, and then you're gonna. So it's just like a perpetual cycle of everyone just never leaving the Waterfall University.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly just, it's such a fun. You did such a great job. You can read them in any order, but it's so fun to go back and watch like all the little sprinkles
Hmm.
and Easter eggs, and it's very rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me, everyone. These three beautiful books are out now. You should absolutely get them, and then you should get them again when the new covers come out. And you should pre-order Undone because you have to have a full set.
Duh.
But thank you so much, Peyton. It's been really fun, and
Thank
maybe we can do it
you.
again for Undone.
I would love that. That's so perfect.
All right. Well, you have a great evening, and I'll chat to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.